Dear ladies and gentlemen, may you please take your seats. We are beginning with our program. We shall commence with our program as we await the Honorable Minister of Justice and Constitutional Affairs, who is on his way. The Honorable Director of Public Prosecutions, Honorable Judges of the High Court of Uganda, Chairpersons of Constitutional Commissions, the Senior Technical Advisor of the Governance and Security Program, Access to Justice Sub-Program, representative of the Inspector General of Police, representative of the Commissioner General of Prisons, members of top management of the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions, former members of top management of the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions, your worships present, executive directors, heads of non-governmental organizations, officials from ministries, departments, and agencies, members of the Fourth Estate, distinguished dignitaries in all your respective capacities, good morning. I warmly welcome you all to this high-level meeting that is intended to update you, the top-level managers of the criminal justice system, on the achievements of the Global Fund project on a rights-based approach to remove barriers to prevention, access, uptake, and retention to HIV, TB, and malaria services within the criminal justice system. The Global Fund project on a rights-based approach to remove barriers to prevention, access, uptake, and retention to HIV, TB, and malaria services within the criminal justice system has been running for 6 years now, and currently it's in its second phase of implementation. Several achievements have been made in the second phase, and we're here to know what those achievements are and to appreciate them. My name is Jacqueline Okwi. I'm a senior state attorney and the public relations officer of the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions. I'll be your MC for this event. Please permit me to briefly take you through the program for the day. We are going to have an opening prayer, followed by anthems when the minister arrives. We shall have introductory remarks from Ms. Proskovia Ayebare. She's the project coordinator of the Global Fund project, and she'll take us through the achievements of the project and specific objectives of this meeting. Thereafter, we shall have remarks by the Honorable Director of Public Prosecutions, which will be followed by a presentation on ensuring quality of health services, a call for joint efforts to end TB, HIV, and malaria in the criminal justice system. We shall then have a panel discussion on the subject, and it will be followed by a plenary, and thereafter we shall have remarks by our chief guest, the Honorable Minister of Justice and Constitutional Affairs. We shall then have a group photo and then depart at leisure after lunch. Please permit me to invite Ms. Irene Nachimbugwe to say a prayer for us before we begin. Irene.
Let's humble ourselves for a word of prayer. Dear Lord, as we gather today, we bring your preserve with us. We speak your peace, your grace, and your perfect order into this space. We acknowledge your Lordship in all that will be spoken, decided, and accomplished within these walls. We thank you for the gift you have given us, for we do not take them for granted, but we commit to use them responsibly. Give us a fresh supply of truth and integrity from which we will draw our strength in doing your job. Anoint our creativity, our ideas, our energy, so that even the smallest task may bring you honor. And Lord, even this day's most stressful moment, may we rest in you, and may your will be done. In Jesus' name I've prayed.
Thank you so much, Ms. Irene. Ladies and gentlemen, I now take this opportunity to invite Ms. Ayebare Proskovia, who is the project coordinator of the Global Fund project. She's the brains behind this project. I usually call her the brains behind this project, and she's an amazing lady. She's going to take us through the project achievements and objectives of why we are here. Ms. Prosi.
Thank you, Jackie. Ladies and gentlemen, protocol observed. Before I say a word, I had hoped that I would see the Director General of Uganda AIDS Commission yes, my Lord, I wanted to express gratitude and probably invite him to say a word before me. The very gentleman is my mentor. I have hijacked you because I hadn't seen you before. Please step forward. And that he says something before I even present. He ushered us, particularly me, into the writing of Global Fund. He picked our idea, the very first one to pick it, and he fronted me, even when I was not able to reach. Mr. DG, please.
Thank you, Prosi. All protocol observed. As you can imagine, I wasn't prepared to speak at all this morning. My name is Dr. Nelson Musova. I'm the Director General of Uganda AIDS Commission. I've been a public health practitioner for, it's coming close to 30 years now. So I met Prosi during my duty of work many years back. And because we know that there is no single aim or objective that you can achieve alone, and clearly from where she was coming from, the partnership was crucial. We started working together, and I'm very pleased. I would like to thank the DPP for inviting us and convening us this morning. We are going to have an important conversation because among the general population that we serve, the area of justice, law, and human rights remains quite complex, and it's very pleasing to see the stakeholders from that sector coming together to discuss this area of public health, of access to services, of stigma and discrimination, challenging aspects of our work that we continue to grapple with. So I'm looking forward to the conversations coming from here, and hopefully they will continue to inform the work that we do together. Thank you very much, and thank you, Prof. Proskovia, for the opportunity to speak. Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you, Director General, Uganda AIDS Commission. And when he gave birth to me, and I was crawling. Another lady, the United Nations, the UN AIDS in Uganda picked me up, and it was Sarah that now became the champion or the leader of criminal justice system. She has worked with us all this journey, and you are part of the updating that we are doing today. Sarah, if it pleases you, step forward and greet the people, and especially that the DPP will see you. Please.
Good morning. By the names of Sarah Nanko, I work with UNAIDS Uganda Country Office. My role is on community mobilization and networking. Just like the DG said, I wasn't also prepared to give remarks, but she asked me to say hello so that the DPP can see who Sarah Nanko is. But I'm also here to see the others that had not seen before. But I know I have you at heart. When we were starting with Prosi, at a certain point, I didn't know that we'll reach this far, but I'm glad that we are where we are now. You're an important sector in this country, but also a very important sector in the HIV response. Without you, we can't achieve much. But we are certain that with you being on board, we'll even be in position to achieve more. I'm glad that we are holding this meeting today. We had a discussion with Prosi after the meeting in Mbarara at that time. And I asked her, can we do something that takes stock of what has been achieved in this particular period? Prosi, thank you for taking this forward. I really, really appreciate. And we also thank you for the work and the good work you're doing within your different sectors. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Ladies and gentlemen, yes, we will have a presentation. My name is Ayebare Proskovia. I am a senior state prosecutor at the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions, and I am passionate on ending diseases. In this presentation, we shall have the introduction, the overview, the progress update. We look at what needs to be done, ongoing efforts, and required collaboration, and we shall conclude. Ladies and gentlemen, this project aims to ensure the access to prevention, treatment, care, and support services, and upholding human rights while managing especially the 3 diseases, that is the HIV, TB, and malaria within the criminal justice system. Probably people will wonder, why would we be doing this work? Isn't Ministry of Health doing enough? The management of disease in Uganda, and indeed the whole world, has changed from merely expecting that you fall sick and go to the doctor. It has gone to community. So management of diseases is community-based management. And when we speak of community-based management, and the reason why would we go community-based management, the reason is simple, that if you are in a particular community, it is you that is best positioned to identify your problems and how to solve them. It is the reason we come on board as a community of criminal justice system, so that we can speak to the health, our specific problems, and how we think that we can deal with them. In this project, we aim to do several things. We have about 12 activities that we fronted. And one of them was to train and give capacity, to cause capacity building among the employees of the criminal justice system. We have done this to a greater extent. I know that the other speakers will speak to it and give probably the details. And so we just understand for now that we have done capacity building, including judicial officers, prosecutors, Uganda Police Force officers, and Uganda Prisons Service officers. But we also brought on board the probation officers and the local council ones, because those two, while they seem to be in the peripheral of implementation of criminal justice, they are indeed part and parcel of us, and they affect us directly. We have also achieved integrated services. Now we can speak of managing HIV, TB, and malaria in just one go. We know that if we go now to police, if they are going to screen you, they are going to screen you for the three. And if you are reporting, screening does not mean testing. The doctors have differentiated those terms. Screening means common asking of questions. How do you feel this morning? Do you need any medical help? Can we help you? Have you? And so if you indicate to the doctor who is interviewing you that you need extra assistance, then the doctor will ask for your consent to be tested. So the two are different. We have also improved on our healthcare systems within the criminal justice system. We all know that apparently we have Uganda Police Force screens, and we call it screening at the entry level. The project began in July last year, and to date, 18,522 persons have been screened, and 8,405 were found positive. And 10,117 were negative. So to say 45.4% of the persons tested for HIV were found positive at the 16 Uganda police stations that this program has been able to reach so far. This is in a span of only July. Today is July, so a span of 1 year. This is what has been done, and in only 16 police stations. So it speaks to us how big the problem is. We want to imagine a situation that police has not been able to identify this 54%, 45%, and they have gone to prison as though they were healthy people. And probably they have somehow exchanged those fluids that can enable transmission of HIV. We would say the multiplication is double. On that note, allow me to thank Dr. Moses and team for the good job well done. The project, my Lord, has also strengthened coordination between healthcare providers, law enforcement, and community-based organizations. My Lord, we have an MOU with the Ministry of Health through which we receive our money. We have an established relationship with Uganda Law Reform that is helping us to tackle the issue of HIV and the law. We also have a stronger relationship with the Uganda AIDS Commission, which is largely our coach. My Lord, we have a stronger and more communal relationship with the other stakeholders, the judiciary, the Uganda police, the Uganda prisons, as it is evident in this room today. We also have a very strong, and it is still developing, my Lord, a relationship with the non-governmental organizations who otherwise have been largely our enemy. So to say, every time they heard of criminal justice, we were supposed to be harassing them. But they have come on board, and many of them are in this room today. We have also established relations with the community engagement, especially through the UNAIDS Uganda country office. We have also been able to engage affected communities, like the prisoners themselves, then plus also NGOs who are led by persons living with HIV or persons living with tuberculosis, the survivors of tuberculosis. Involvement of community-based organizations and civil society groups in our work. They have been working with us, especially on court circuits, which we call in our non-language pre-bargain. They have been giving us services like counseling, services like resettlement, enabling witnesses to come on board, helping us to make calls, doing the work that we would otherwise not be able to do, but improving the picture of criminal justice. My Lord, we have been able to establish a planning, implementation, and monitoring of programs mechanism amongst ourselves. So to say, we have teams that were requested by yourself, my Lord, from Uganda prisons, from Uganda police force. Maybe the implementation teams from those organizations can show hands. Uganda police is down there, Uganda prisons, Dr. Kisambu and the team. I don't seem to see them here, but we have a team of 5 from Uganda prisons, and we have a team of 3 from the judiciary. My Lord, we have also been able to tailor services to our specific community. We have identified for the Ministry of Health and the rest of the world what services we want and how we would wish them to be delivered to us if we are supposed to be partners in ending these diseases by 2030 as set by the government. What needs to be done? My Lord, we do not have a data monitoring and evaluation for this particular project. For these specific problems happening, we do not have a data capturing or informing us on the situation of health in the criminal justice system. Do we have systems? Do we have clinics? Where do I go? Does the public know where to go if you are in criminal justice? Who do you ask if you need any assistance in the area of health? We have now, although we need to have from this data would be able to get the key indicators and access services, treatment outcomes, stigma reduction indicators. Would have a data-driven program improvement and accountability, would be able to scale up the best practices, would have the identification of successful approaches and interventions and how to expound on them, would be able to scale up across regions and countries. If we had data that speaks to us, then we can be able to inform the rest of East Africa, for example, that this works, this is how we did it and it works, and this is the data, and the rest of the world would be buying into what we are doing. Would also be able to share the best practices, lessons learned, and innovative strategies. Would also be able to address unique challenges of individuals within the criminal justice system if we had data available. My Lord, we need to do a lot of advocacy and policy dialogue in as far as health is concerned in the criminal justice system. There is no known policy that is bringing us together in the management of diseases. No wonder when COVID came, the criminal justice shut down. So we need a mechanism, my Lord. Advocacy efforts should be raised and awareness. Policymakers, donors, and the general public should indeed be informed of the need to tackle disease from the angle of criminal justice. We should be able to give supportive environment, especially to those who interface with criminal justice and have come to us when they are already sick. And my Lord, we should be able to secure sustained funding for the initiative. We are looking forward to when negotiations can begin with the government to consider that criminal justice has its unique challenges as far as health is concerned, and therefore we should be addressed as a unit. The ongoing efforts, we have government is on board in form of the other institutions that we work with. Civil society is on board. Healthcare providers, Ministry of Health, and stakeholders are all on board. Protecting and promoting rights and health within the criminal justice system should be an ongoing effort. In conclusion, we have what it takes to do better in the area of health. We have organized institutions that are believed and respected, and therefore, if we spoke as one unit, we should be able to garner a decent support, especially the financial support. We have good leadership in place. We have, well, I would speak largely for the ODPP, that we have a leader that has the fire, and we better utilize her when she's still in the chair. That has been my innermost thought. We utilize her when she's still in the chair. I don't get tired. And we have readily available support, both internal and external. Why wouldn't we have a criminal justice system free of diseases? Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to thank our honorary donor, that is the Global Fund, the leadership of our institutions, that is for the judiciary, the ODPP, the Uganda Police Force, and the Uganda Prison Service. All the stakeholders, especially the parliamentarians of Uganda, the Parliament of Uganda, the Ministry of Finance that gives us and monitors the money, the Ministry of Health that helps us to implement the program, the Uganda AIDS Commission that is our coach, the Uganda Law Reform, our guide on the HIV and the law, TASO that financially sometimes steps in, and all other stakeholders and well-wishers. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening.
Another round of applause to Ms. Proskovia Yevare. Thank you so much for the great work that you're doing in respect to the Global Fund project. And thank you for giving us an update about the progress of the project, the achievements, and what needs to be done by stakeholders. Ladies and gentlemen, please permit me now to humbly invite the Honorable DPP Lady Justice Jane Francis Abodo to make her remarks. You're most welcome.
Thank you, Jackie. Good morning once again for everyone who has made time to come here this morning. We are very delighted and humbled by your presence. The minister is about to join us, but I just thought to save time, we start the program. Since it was, time is not on our side. And I know each and every one of you who has come here, at least more than 3/4, I know you, and you have very busy dockets. So the moment that you're here, we don't want to waste any more time, and we want to keep time. Honorable judges of the High Court present, chairpersons of constitutional commissions who are here with us. I have seen the Senior Technical Advisor, Governance and Security Program. Rachel, my sister, is there. You're most welcome. Representative of the Inspector General of Police, representative of the Commissioner General of Prisons. I have seen a good number of members of top management of the ODPP. You're most welcome. I have also seen our senior, Mr. Elem. You're most welcome. We still love you, and we are so happy to see you here. I have also seen Director Interpol just now, my sister Grace Akulo. I think she sneaked in and just came in here. Heads of international organizations present, executive directors present, heads of non-governmental organizations, officials from the different MDAs, members of the Fourth Estate, of course, distinguished dignitaries in all your respective capacities. If I've missed you, I am extremely sorry. Good morning. Esteemed managers from the criminal justice institutions and respected executive directors of the different NGOs in this room, it's an honor to host this high-level meeting today, bringing together key stakeholders to discuss the achievements of our project, a rights-based approach to end HIV, TB, malaria, and other diseases within the criminal justice system. I would like to begin by very sorry. Okay. Thank you so much. I would like to begin by acknowledging the tremendous collaborative efforts and dedication displayed by the judiciary, the Office of the DPP, the Uganda Police, the Uganda Prison Service, as well as our project implementation teams. Together, we have made significant progress in addressing these pressing health challenges. Since this phase of the project commencement in 2021, we have accomplished various milestones. Notably, we have sensitized a total of about 360 officers from different branches of the criminal justice system, including judicial officers, the prosecutors, the police officers, the prisons officers, as well as local council 1 members and probation officers. This sensitization aimed to remove barriers to accessing services related to HIV, to TB, malaria within our criminal justice system. Furthermore, we have conducted sensitization campaigns and engagements with parliamentarians, seeking their support in enacting legislation that supports our efforts in combating these diseases. Their awareness and understanding of the importance of these issues are crucial in fostering a conducive legal environment. To empower our peers within the Uganda prisons, we have developed a comprehensive training manual. This manual equips both trainers and prisoners with essential life skills, educates them on their rights and obligations, and emphasizes the significance of rehabilitation and reform to prevent recidivism by investing in their rehabilitation, providing them with the necessary knowledge. We are fostering an environment that promotes personal growth, and of course societal reintegration after these people come out of prison. In collaboration with the Uganda Police Force and the Uganda Prison Service, we have formulated user policies to enhance the management of HIV, TB, and malaria, as Prosi had just said. These policies provide clear guidelines and procedures for addressing health-related issues within our institutions. By implementing these policies, we are ensuring the well-being and the health of course, both the officers and of course the people who are under our care. Additionally, we organized 3 health-related court circuits in the high-burden prisons. I attended one in Mbale, there was one in Masaka, and in Luwero. Through this, we successfully completed 300 cases, thus improving access to justice for individuals within the criminal justice system. And of course, without, especially the cases in the lower court, it is an immediate, most people would just walk home, so would really reduce on the congestion immediately. It is a testament to our commitment to providing comprehensive support and addressing the needs of those infected and of course affected, especially by the 3 diseases, that is the HIV, TB, and malaria. In line with our vision of a crime-free society, we have also established consented screening for health. Currently, this initiative is operational in 16 Pioneer Uganda Police Force stations within Kampala metropolitan area. By implementing this screening process, we ensure that individuals who are willing, of course, to receive vital health screenings, enabling early detection and timely treatment of diseases, thus protecting all in the criminal justice system from the entry point, that is from police, that is our entry point in the criminal justice system. Today, we gather as top managers to receive these achievements and provide guidance for the expansion of our project. Our collaborative efforts have shown tremendous potential in improving the criminal justice system and the overall well-being of all Ugandans. So we are just here to almost like give you our report card, and it is for you to judge whether we are doing well or we are doing badly, where we need to step up because we still have time. I also look forward. It's also an opportunity for us to share knowledge, of course, exchange ideas, and discuss further strategies to tackle these diseases effectively while ensuring the protection of human rights. I look forward to productive discussions today and to charting a course that leads us to create a criminal justice system that not only upholds the rule of law, but also promotes the health and well-being of every individual that we serve in our different institutions and in our communities. Thank you so much for listening to me. May God bless each and every one of you. I say all this for God and my country.
Thank you so much, my lady, the DPP. Another round of applause for her. We have heard with our own ears, and she's asked us to judge what has been done, what is being done in the Global Fund project, and we shall have an opportunity to also make contributions and to comment about what is being done and what has been done. Thank you so much, my lady. Ladies and gentlemen, we are now ready for our next presentation. It's going to be on ensuring quality of health services, a call for joint efforts to end TB, HIV, and malaria in the criminal justice system. This presentation was supposed to be made by the Deputy DPP, Mr. George William Biansi. Unfortunately, he's not able to be with us this morning due to unavoidable circumstances. So the presentation is going to be made by the project coordinator, Ms. Proskovia Ayebare. So Prosi, please come and make the presentation. You're very welcome.
Ladies and gentlemen, respectfully in your respective capacities, I stand in very huge shoes of a deputy DPP in charge of inspection, quality assurance, training and research within the office of the DPP, Mr. Biansi. I will do verbatim reading of what he would have told you today. The reasoning presented in the statement of improving health through a rights-based approach outline several key elements that contribute to guaranteeing quality services within the criminal justice system. And here is how this reasoning can ensure quality services. His bullet number 1, funding for the project. The initiative has secured funding from the Global Fund, indicating a commitment to allocating resources to address the challenges posed by HIV, TB, and malaria within the criminal justice system. Sufficient funding is essential for implementing effective programs and ensuring the viability of necessary resources for quality services. Sensitization and engagement. The project has conducted sensitization programs for officers within the criminal justice system and engaged peripheral institutions such as the probation and the local council one, and health stakeholders. By raising awareness and involving key stakeholders, the project ensures that the importance of quality services is understood and embraced by all involved parties. Parliamentary sensitization. The project has taken steps to inform and engage policymakers by conducting parliamentary sensitizations. This approach ensures that decision makers are aware of the challenges and progress in addressing health-related issues within the criminal justice system. It promotes policy support and facilitates the allocation of resources for quality services. Resolving health-related cases. The project has focused on resolving health-related cases in high-burden prisons by addressing health issues within the prison system. It ensures that the individuals have access to necessary health care services, leading to improved health outcomes and a higher quality of care within the criminal justice system. Consent screening for health. The project has established consent screening for health at Uganda Police Force stations. This practice ensures that individuals entering the criminal justice system are screened for health conditions, allowing for timely identification and appropriate treatment. It helps prevent the spread of diseases and ensures that individuals receive the necessary health care they require. Quality assurance protocols. The project recognizes the importance of integrating quality assurance protocols. By housing the project under the Quality Assurance Department, regular audits and assessments can be conducted to monitor and enhance care standards. This ensures that health services provided within the criminal justice system adhere to quality standards, and are the highest caliber. Unity and collaboration. The statement highlights, the statement of the project initiative highlights the unity and collaboration among the criminal justice institutions and other health stakeholders. By working together and sharing expertise, the criminal justice system can develop comprehensive and effective approaches to address health issues. Collaboration fosters collective commitment to quality services and encourages the exchange of best practices. Overall, this reasoning highlights the importance of adequate funding, stakeholder engagement, sensitization, policy support, resolution of health-related cases, consent screening, quality assurance, and collaboration to ensure quality services within the criminal justice system. By implementing these elements, the project aims to improve the well-being of individuals within the criminal justice system and contributes to a healthier, safer, and more just society. I am not the very man. I cannot say I am Mr. Biansi. This is what he sent to us. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Project Coordinator, for taking us through that presentation of the Deputy DPP, Mr. George William Biansi. Now we are ready to enrich what we have already received with a panel discussion. And this panel discussion is going to be moderated by none other than Ms. Sandra Twinoburio. Ms. Sandra Twinoburio is a news anchor with NTV Uganda, a show host of Eco Africa, airing across Africa and Europe. It's an environmental show, and she's a founder of Unemployment Ends With Me initiative, UA. It's a youth initiative contributing to addressing youth unemployment through partnership and collaboration. So we have Ms. Sandra Twinoburio with us. She's right there. Ms. Sandra, you're welcome. Please come and take your seat. Sandra will be introducing the panelists that we have for this morning. Ms. Sandra, you're welcome.
Thank you so much for that detailed introduction. A very good morning. Thank you so much for being here. I want to say all protocol observed. My name is Sandra Twinoburio, as you just heard, and I'm super excited to be here with you and standing in front of all of you, the people we actually look at and we say, you know, these are the people that inspire us. So truly honored to be here, but also to speak about matters that we as journalists are very passionate about, and that is access to health rights, but diving deeper into the stories that we actually cover on a daily basis, you know, of the things that happen within the prison centers. Recently, there is an article that was speaking about how we have about 76,000 prisoners across prisons all over the country. But again, we continue to see the statistics indicating that people do not have access to information, you know, when it comes to HIV prevalence, when it comes to, you know, how to protect yourself as, you know, as someone who's within already in the prison cell, and the questions around how to make sure they access these rights does remain very paramount. So this very morning, we are going to have, as you already had, we'll be speaking deeply on how to remove barriers to prevention and management of diseases from the criminal justice system by using a rights-based approach. So of course we want to observe and see, are the rights to a speedy trial being, maintained? Are we seeing those being respected? Are the rights of the people that are called to court being respected? In fact, if for example you're an accused of raping somebody and you have HIV, is it okay for your results to be revealed in the public as it is? But we've seen a number of cases happening, and I'm super honored that we'll be having great ladies within the justice system and also the academia to give us more details on how, for example, law is handling that, Law Development Center is doing that, and the experience of these people that have been there before us. So thank you so much, and do allow me invite our panel speakers right away, and I want to invite them one by one because I want us to pay attention to them. And for you who's in the audience, I love to say that for every single conversation we have, the panel will be open for you to ask a question or two. So I want to invite them in detail and give a bit of information about who they are so that we know the background of what they're going to tell us. And you can start noting down your questions right away. So do allow me invite Honorable Lady Justice Margaret Mutonyi. Very good morning, and I would like to ask you to come and take the front seat. Honored to have you on the panel. I think they are getting us tea, so we could clap for her a little louder so that she gives us all the information that we need today. So, Honorable Lady Justice Margaret is a judge of the High Court, and she is currently at Criminal Division, a focal person for the juvenile justice system, a founder and also pastor at Busano Christian Center Church that is in Mbale. And ladies and gentlemen, she has 28 years experience at the bench. She has moved all through the radar, from grade 1 magistrate to the current level that she holds. So a very good morning, and thank you so much for joining us today. We are honored to hear from you. I am particularly looking forward to getting your experience on the different visits that you make. When you go to the different prisons that you've been to, what are their stories? What are they saying? And how can they be better helped? So she is going to be one of our speakers today. Also, do allow me invite our senior, who's seated right in front of me. That is retired Deputy DPP, Mr. Charles Elem Ogwal. I want to believe I pronounced that right, since I don't come from that side of town. But a very warm welcome. We are excited to have you on the bench as well. But this time the bench is this side. Well, a little information about him. He is currently retired from civil service. So tetumutawanya nyo, let us allow him to speak to us the way he wants. We are going to honor him and, respect him in his capacity. However, he did serve on the terrorism prevention expert at the United Nations. Nice. He is also a member, board of directors, financial intelligence, and a Chancellor Church of Uganda, Lango Diocese. He has been mostly engaged in legal consultancy services. So of course, we would like to hear from you, your experience before, you decided to give us a break just to understand your experience and the different gaps that you think should be filled, and of course, the possible solutions and how the criminal justice system can, of course, do better. Next on our list, like I mentioned earlier, we do have an academia, and that is Senior Counsel Paul Muchibi from the Law Development Center. A very good morning, and thank you so much. We are glad you're here to represent what the academias think about access to health rights. Ladies and gentlemen, please do allow me welcome Senior Counsel Paul Muchibi. Now, lawyers, they're always advocating for the rights of people. And now that we have the homosexuality law, I think the questions around access to rights, especially for the people confined in the prisons, is one of those that we'll be diving into today. Now, just to take us back, the conversation today is removing barriers to prevention and management of diseases from the criminal justice system by using a rights-based approach. So ladies and gentlemen, this is a very timely conversation, and I want to set the pace of this conversation. I would like to invite our senior we want to use his expertise for him to set the pace of a wonderful discussion today. I want to move to you, Mr. Charles Elem. And I want you to start by giving us your experience. When you were still, in the heat of things, how was your experience when you, for example, had the whole concept of health rights and a person is accused or a person who has already been confined? What was your experience? And do you think today's topic is actually very timely, or have we exhausted it before?
Thank you so much. It's my pleasure to come again before all of you and have these conversations. Because on retirement, I was, of course, relaxed. But the brain, as you know, does not relax so much. I would like to thank the organizers for today's function and pass my best regards to Her Lordship, the Director of Public Prosecutions, who had those kind words for me. But let me start with my experience as a retiree, a pensioner. I used to read about pensioners, how they're being conned, and I didn't know one time I would just be one of those. Now I'm here. I realize that this day we have very many institutions, and we have been represented here at the highest level possible. My recent experience is that I went for a medical checkup. Senior citizens are supposed to go for medical checkups in periods, maybe 6 months, 3 months, or 1 year. And when I went there, I had tests for a host of things. And when the results came, the doctor told me that, you see, you are very okay. The one I was fearing is not there. But among those which had been tested was HIV. And personally, that's the one I thought was the most dangerous. But he was telling me that at your age, what was frightening us is to find you positive for prostate cancer. That's a very deadly disease. And secondly, I've seen that your sugar levels are still okay. Then I said, no, but you talk about why are you avoiding the other main one? He said that one is no longer main, because scientific advances have made it just what they call a chronic disease, which you can live with. But once you get prostate cancer, that's when you know that you're in deep problem, and managing it is very difficult. But HIV can be managed nowadays. So it gave me a reflection of what was happening when I was a Deputy Director of Public Prosecutions. As a Deputy Director of Public Prosecutions, anybody who engages in sex with others when HIV positive makes it an aggravating circumstance. And this made me to think, why do we do that? And today I've just learned also that out of all those tested at police stations which are active in this program, about half are HIV positive. And do they know it? So, once you charge somebody with aggravated defilement, aggravated whatever, because of his HIV station, does he know it? Are we fighting the correct war? Because in my belief, we should be fighting the disease, not the people who have that sickness. Because even when I went to test, of course I knew I've been a very clean and exemplary member of society. I would not have HIV, but still I was panicking. Because they told me HIV is not what we think. Because people have a tendency to say you have HIV because of irresponsible promiscuity. It is not that. This thing can come in the wind. How it comes, nobody will know. And these people whom we are charging may not have known. So we are fighting sick people whom we have a duty to actually cater for. So going forward, we have to have a very, very deep understanding and a look at this kind of procedures which we are having. It also brings me to the understanding that these days there is that screening, testing. Of course, those are doctors' issues, but we know they try to see whether you have a sickness or not. Then from there, you are taken to prisons. And now, prisons, once you are taken when you are sick, the diet is not so great. And that's one of the, I think that's another disease, if it is not an enemy, which is promoting diseases. Because you are taken there, there is congestion, there is, of course, a lot of congestion and poor feeding, which if you have that disease, which you may not even have known you are having it. Because in law, you should try to see the actions of somebody. Did he intend to cause harm or not? Now, when you are taken there with HIV, it becomes worse. And usually, accused persons who are remanded are young, robust men, sexually active. When they reach prisons, they miss that part of life where they have to have intimacy with the opposite sex. Now, for some reason, one or another, they may engage in homosexual acts. How do you go about that? In my other life, when I was in the United Nations, we had a project in Zambia where we were providing condoms to inmates. And those people chased us away, that we were promoting homosexuality. How do you give men condoms to do what with? But we're saying this is a reality in prison. People have sex with each other. How do we intervene? Because you cannot wish it away by saying, people don't do it, this is not part of our culture and whatnot. You see? Because it happens and other people get infected there. So, can you in Uganda, in this day and age, say I'm going to give condoms to prisoners who are males so that they engage in anal sex or whatever sex they have? That's a big question. But the reality may be not far from the truth. So, if we have to have some sympathy with these people, how do we systematically, deliberately fight this kind of thing? Another issue which I saw about human rights and the fight for criminal justice is actually the condition of law enforcement and prisons officers. When I used to go to visit my bodyguard in the barracks where I used to stay, I wanted to look away. Because these people are in such a sad situation. In a sad situation where accommodation is so poor. And in such a situation, then you yourself are capable of spreading sickness. You spread sickness all over the place. You arrest a prisoner, but because of your congestion, there may be already TB in the barracks. I was one of the first people to fall ill of COVID. And some people were saying, you know, because you travel with the bodyguards who come from the barracks which are congested, and they're young and they can't get the disease, now you see where you are. So it is also a reality that as long as we are going to also fight for these people that come into conflict with the law, we must also think about the law enforcement people themselves. What are their conditions of living? Do they have chances to have conjugal rights with their spouses? But when you're sharing a uniport of 2 people, 3 people, where is that time? So when you go maybe to the cells and you see a batch of women in the cells, you are tempted to maybe work on one, and you may actually get TB or any other disease. So your own situation must also be looked at very, very seriously. And as a final word, I think this stigma which we attribute to people and saying, you know, you deserve to be treated this way because HIV and all other diseases, you look for it, is not true. It comes to anybody unannounced and without any contribution whatsoever. You may have gone to have a haircut, and a careless man cuts you, infects you with HIV. You go have sex with somebody not knowing your situation, and then you are condemned for that. In a nutshell, please, let's be able to fight the disease, but not those who are unfortunate enough to be infected. Thank you for the time being.
Thank you so much. We should, fight the disease, but not those that were unfortunate to get the disease. So we should be able to find a middle ground of how to deal with, infections within the criminal justice system. However, I'm just curious to hear from you, just to get your take on, for example, there is a court hearing of a man who's just been accused of defilement, and he had HIV, and there's the allegation that he transmitted, the virus to, this young girl. Should it be okay for the judge or for anyone reading the matter in court to actually say the results of this gentleman? Should it be okay?
I think that's the law as it is now.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it would be okay.
Moving ahead, should it stay the same if you want to manage the way things are done and respect the rights of these people?
Of course, as I have said, that would be the duty of parliamentarians to change the law.
Yeah.
Yeah, because judges, prosecutors, policemen, we all follow the law as it is. Our private thoughts or beliefs
Even
are
when it's very
inconsequent.
uncomfortable for you as well.
Yeah, however uncomfortable it is.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. Now, do allow me invite Honorable Lady Justice Margaret Mutonyi. And my very first question to you, I know that on several occasions you've visited different prisons. What has been your story? What has been the experience? What are they saying? And what do you think they really need? The microphone.
To this great meeting. Of course, it's a fact that our prisons are congested, they're extremely congested, and most of the inmates, if we are to talk about HIV, we have cases where they do not feel comfortable about disclosure of their status. Some of them, I think, right from the police, they don't want to know. They don't want to know their status. There are even many who are out there who don't want to check. But once one is charged with a sexual offense, then it's mandatory. As of now, it is mandatory for them to know, to be checked. But their complaint at times is that the medical officers do not really check them. We have those cases where people complain that I'm charged with aggravated defilement because they allege I have HIV, but in the actual sense I don't have HIV. So we have some screening at the police done by the medical officers while this person is still under police custody. And when they go to prisons, they go for a second check and they realize that they are negative. So I think when we talk of HIV from that context, it is very important that they are checked. And to me, it should not be only those charged with the sexual offenses. I believe every inmate, and any person who is going through the system should be checked. Why? To me, the criminal justice system would provide an opportunity for treatment and counseling. And I think we need to know that we need to be prepared to counsel and treat those who are found to be positive. Now, if that is the case, then we need this counseling right from the police. So their main concern is that, well, you are charged with an offense, like my brother has just said, you don't know that you have it. Then you are shocked with the results that you are positive. But there is no preparation, there is no counseling about that. I'm telling you, the discovery, up to now people feel that AIDS is a very serious sickness. since it's incurable, but people have lived with it. But the mere fact that they shock you with the results that you are positive, it causes a lot of trauma to them. Others can even become very sick immediately because of discovering what their status. So if we are to fight this, I think from the human rights perspective, it is very important that they are cancelled, because to me, the AIDS, people who are dealing with the AIDS know that it's important to cancel the person. Even when you test someone, before you give the results, you go through some counseling. I remember the first time I went for HIV test, the way the counselor talked, I thought I was expecting the worst. I started panicking even before the results. But that process took me through that process. Then in the end said, oh, don't worry, you are negative. But the process alone was traumatizing. But I believe that was some time back, so people were learning, being trained on the job. So right now we need counselors before the suspects are screened and before the results are given to them. And then there should be second check, because one might be negative today, but after 3 months, the results are positive. So there should be continuous screening to make sure that we protect those who are not infected, and then we treat those who are infected. It is a human right for them to get treatment. But they also complain, those who are HIV, they complain that the feeding is poor. Now, if one is on treatment for HIV, it's important they have a good diet. But can we afford that diet in our prisons? We could, if they can be identified and then they have a different meal because they're on drugs. But can we afford it? So it's something that we should work towards. So they complain of poor health, a poor diet, those who are HIV positive, then falsification of results by the medical personnel. And this does not only stop at HIV, it also affects the young offenders. I've had several cases, and I believe even up to now, if we went to an adult prison, we shall not miss out young offenders who are below 18 years. So the system of examining suspects is not thorough, because we find young offenders in adult prisons. And these young offenders are actually victims of sodomy. They are the weaker type, they are the weaker inmates, and the big ones can bully them into acts of sodomy. So it's very important that we appreciate that good health and treatment is a right. In fact, if we do not offer treatment to people who are HIV and any other disease, it's cruel and amounts to inhuman treatment. They also, basically it is poor examination where results are falsified, then poor treatment for those who are sick, and then almost no treatment at all. Then they also stay long. So I believe once one is HIV positive and maybe is in an advanced stage, it's important that with this screening, they can know the viral load, and then they know this person is sick, then we can fast track. So we need serious cooperation and coordination between the prisons and the judiciary, so that if people are sick, we have a policy of fast in, fast out, but because of sickness, it is a reason why one can jump the queue, so that we treat this, we fast track his case or her case, and then decide at the end of it whether we should release the person depending on the offense he committed, or he should remain in incarceration for some time. But on the issue of not making it public for the accused person who is HIV positive and is charged with a sexual offense, in the court we try to conceal the victims, the name of the victims. But according to the law, if one is charged with aggravated defilement, and this is a capital offense, he's supposed to be heard in public, open court. So we read the charges as they are. The offense is aggravated because you are HIV, alleged to be HIV positive. And then they have to bring evidence of that nature, that you are HIV positive. But then so far we conceal the victims. But does it make sense? Does it help for the accused person, especially who, I had one case where one was HIV positive and he had 7 counts of defilement. So he was just like on rampage. So how do you hide or conceal the identity of such a person? And how do you deal with a lot of mercy with such a person? Won't he go back to the community and then continue where he stopped from? So it has its own issues, but the most important thing we need to know is that they have a right to medical education. They should have a right to good diet, and they should have a right to be counseled. And I think when they are counseled, to avoid stigma, they need to be counseled so that they don't hide. When you go in when you are HIV positive, I believe other inmates also have a right to know that this person who is joining us is HIV positive. But once they are counseled, they would know how to treat this person, because they would know what is used to get an infection. Shaking hands will not infect me. Sharing a cup will not cause an infection, a transmission. So we need to counsel both those who are negative and those who are positive. But it's very important that at entry point, they should know. We need to screen them so that we know. And when they enter, those who are negative have a right to know the kind of person they are going to share a word with. And maybe possibly the over-congestion. I don't know how we can prepare to have enough room so that we can isolate those who have TB. Because some inmates complain that we have people who have TB, but we are mixing freely. So it's very important that those with the TB should be screened, identified, treated, and separated. Not isolated, but separated from the others to avoid infection of those who don't have the TB, and even to know how to deal with those who have HIV and other diseases.
Thank you so much. I would like to actually stay with you, and basically, if you would be so kind to give us a personal feel. If, for example, if we interacted, you did mention there's a gentleman who had HIV, but would like you to paint for us a picture of what it means to actually have TB or HIV within the prison cells of this country, from your experiences and the stories you've been told.
Yes, these it's a challenge. One, these are diseases where one is put on strong drugs, where feeding is very important. And then they may not get that care from the hospital. So it's one area where, for instance, the courts can use, like TB, it's one area where the courts can use on medical grounds to grant bail to this person. And I believe it's also one area where the courts can give a lenient sentence so that this person goes back to the community. But the issue is the gravity of the offenses they have committed. So when you look at the gravity of the offenses they have committed, will the community receive them so soon? Would they be happy when they are sent back to the community? So we need, as a criminal justice system, we need to find ways of dealing with such cases. Can we offer treatment while they are under incarceration? Can we help them improve? Actually, there are some people who have improved while in prison because they access treatment. Some were not aware that they were HIV, for instance, but when they are screened, they are given medication while in prison. So they improve. but others worsen. And those who worsen usually are traumatized and they don't take their medication, or they fail to have the medication, and also poor diet.
If you were to sum it up for the people in this room of why someone would enter prison HIV negative and get out HIV positive, what would you say?
Now, that is the challenge we have. That so if he entered prison when he was HIV negative, just because he was still in the window period, it's a different story. Because we also have those who are in the window period. We have girls now who are born HIV. We have children who are born HIV. So one might defile a girl who is actually HIV and they are negative, but the victim was HIV positive. So during the window period, they don't know. They enter prison when they don't know. And with the time, they realize that they are HIV positive. That is also a different scenario. We also have those who get infected because of sexual acts in the prison. Now, if one is infected while in custody, to me, if the prisons have a proper record and they give us that information, to me, that would work as a mitigating factor in terms of punishment. I would consider that as a mitigating factor. Yes, I would.
Well, removing barriers to prevention and management of diseases, I can really say that diet, congestion, you know, the needs, you did mention about conjugal rights, and also inconsistent results where, you know, the nurses or doctors give you inconsistent results. At some point you're HIV positive and the other time you're actually negative. So poor examination and of course poor treatment. These are some of the key barriers that we have so far observed from our two speakers. But what are the people in academia saying? You know, we are speaking about HIV, we are speaking about TB, we are speaking about malaria in light of the homosexuality law that we now have as a country. I want to turn to you, Senior Counsel Paul Muchibi. What are you saying? What is the academia saying?
Thank you so much. I will speak in two perspectives because I've been on the front line of HIV prevention and control in the courtroom. One is the aspect of legislation vis-a-vis rights. In 2014, Parliament passed the HIV Prevention and Control Act. That act commenced in 2015. There are three problematic sections under the act. Section 18, we have Section 41 and Section 43. One of the provision speaks about disclosing results of an HIV positive person. It makes it an obligation to a health worker, if you test a person and is positive, to disclose the results to people with whom that person is in social contact with. And we are saying this provision is overboard. And it is causing more stigma to the HIV positive person. The law did not define who social contact with is. And this can be lengthened to include a broad range of people. If I'm in this meeting, these people are with social contact with me. They should know my HIV status. It includes your family, your workplace, everywhere. And we are saying you are not working against, you are not working to prevent, you are causing more stigma to these people. The other is attempted transmission of HIV. The law did not define what attempted transmission is of HIV. It is trying to equate attempted transmission of HIV like an ordinary attempt in other criminal matters, which are totally different. There's an aspect of science and the law when it comes to sexual offenses, specifically HIV, which the legislator did not envisage. And when we are doing a study, we consulted MPs and we went even into the Hansards behind this law. What happened that in 2014, there is a Kenyan lady who was in Uganda who came out to the public and said, I've so far infected 200 men with HIV. 200 men. And she had a list on her paper. The MPs were so annoyed, started grappling, immediately passed a law. So the passing of the law had emotions behind it. It was not based on the science of the disease itself and how it should be managed. UNAIDS has given clear criteria of managing HIV. And the emphasis should be on access to medication and treatment, access to information, not criminalizing the disease, which I think we are doing here. We have gone through terrible experiences. I personally participated in defending the first case of its kind that brought problems in the country here was Rosemary Namubiru, now the late. Rosemary Namubiru, you remember, she was charged for having flicked a cannula on a toddler, and she was a nurse then in Victoria Medical Center. Already the public convicted her before she was even tried in court. Producing her in court, it was fire. Everybody, including, and this is where courts must be cautious, even including court, was almost convicting before trial. Defense counsel, we became accused also. We were all the time harassed by media, harassed by all court users and whoever was attending court, and even the reporting in the media was already showing a convict. There is a way these people are being treated and it is taking away their rights. That takes me even to the question you posed earlier. Is it right to have these people's names read out? I appreciate the fact that that is the law, but is it ideal? Should we move like that? These are among persons who are categorized as vulnerable. If we take women vulnerable, children vulnerable, what about these people living with HIV? I think I upload Justice Mutoni, and the other I've seen, I think, is Justice Vincent Wagona, who have tried to use pseudonyms when it comes to protection of rights. Even in Miro reporting, we always upload Justice Mutoni for that. We already know these court sessions are open. The accused is already there, and everybody is seeing him. Can't we use pseudonyms other than using their actual names? Does it affect the trial? Does it in any way take away the evidence? It does not, in my view. But we need to balance rights and the law. Moving forward, countries have moved away from...
Well, maybe just to chip in, you know, you're saying, at the point exactly where you're saying that we could use signals just to get more perspective. Don't you think now that would make it easy for this person to fall victim if their results are not disclosed?
No, the disclosure of results is different. That is at the place of testing.
Yeah.
I'm talking about now court, when you are being tried in court. Because the disclosure of results is between the health worker and the person tested, maybe even his close family relatives. But in the courtroom, it is open to the public. Everybody is there to view what is going on and what have you. So this is where we are saying pseudonyms need to be used like we use on the juveniles, we use on other protected persons, to at least reduce that kind of stigma on these people. Again, something also important, which goes to what you said about the anti-homosexuality bill. I was presenting the LDC views before the Legal and Parliamentary Affairs Committee on this bill, and then the draft had also made HIV an aggravating factor. And surprisingly, it is HIV which is being singled out, which we think it is discriminative because it is not the only infectious disease. So when I presented this to the MPs, that why sing out HIV? Is it the only infectious disease we have in the country? Then they say, okay, we are going to change and say HIV and others. Others are not mentioned. They are just called what? Others. But HIV specifically what? Mentioned. And we're saying we are trying to reduce this stigma. And you see, what is the problem is we are still in the emotion of 2014. Science has moved away. And this is what Honorable Elem earlier said. What makes it aggravating? Do we know at what stage somebody transmits? Science has come out to show that when we criminalize, we are making the person who disclosed or who tested and his results are known a victim or becoming an accused. The one who doesn't test, who doesn't know his or her results, is not to blame. And indirectly, are we preventing the transmission? We are trying to encourage people to go and test, to know their status. But when you test, a health worker has a duty to disclose your results to other. Are people going to be encouraged to go and test? Or they are just going to keep quiet? When somebody whose results is known enters into a sexual contact with another person who doesn't know his results or her results, the one who knows the results is the one who was infected. The one who didn't know his or her results has not what? Who tells you that he or she was not also positive before the action? So this is where the law is missing a lot in science. And we tried to challenge these provisions before the Constitutional Court. I was part of the legal team. That is Uganet and the others against the AG. It's a recent decision that the Constitutional Court determined last year. And you could see, I implore you to read the decision. The affidavit evidence produced before the court by health workers was never appreciated at all. And I think this is a gray area where we need a lot of training, the bench, prosecution, the academia, and all the justice players. We need a lot of training to know how does this happen. Well, lastly, for emphasis, I want to mention, we have situations of discordance. I have a client who has a wife. They've been together for 9 years. The wife has been positive for the last 7 years. And this client didn't know. All of a sudden, discovered a lot of ARVs being hidden somewhere. Discovered medical documents concerning the wife. And he got traumatized. So he asked the wife to go for test. The wife didn't wait for that. Admitted that I'm what? Positive. The man thought he's finished. He went for tests. 3 times. The first time, he was negative. He still didn't believe he's negative. Because they even have 3 children as I talk. And 1 is positive, the 2 are negative. Just because of lack of information to what would have been done to these children. Now, this man goes for a second test in another reputable hospital. I will not mention for confidentiality. Still, the results were negative. The 3rd time, the same thing. Then the man said, now let me relax. And what? What is causing this? You've been in a relationship with somebody positive for the last 9 years. She's positive. You are negative. There is a lot of science involved in these sexual diseases that we need to know and apply them with the law. Otherwise, if we take the law as it is ordinary, a lot of injustice is going to happen.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you so much. Now, I want us to believe that if we want to remove the barriers, we must start having the uncomfortable talk. And in this room, we all have a role to play. And I want to pose a very simple question to all our speakers so that we get clarity on it. Should the results of the culprits in the court system be disclosed? I want to start with you, the only lady. Yeah.
It down when Councillor Muchibi was talking about this discordant couple. You can see how concealing information can be very dangerous and affect someone negatively. So to me, it is important for that information to be disclosed to those who are concerned. It may not go to the press for the whole world to know, but when we talk of the criminal justice system, it's very important that in prisons, people get to know. The prisons officers should know about this so that they know how to deal with you. The court should know about this so that they know how to deal with you. Because, like I said, being HIV positive, when you are charged with an offense which is not related to aggravated defilement due to HIV, can be a mitigating factor because we look at you as a person who needs treatment. But now, in cases of, actually, I've wondered why we just left it like that anyone who has the sexual encounter with a girl or a boy below 18 and while is HIV positive should be charged with aggravated defilement. My take is screening is very important, and investigating that status should be it should be part of their investigations. Why? The police should know when you got to know of your status. We have suspects who get to know of their HIV status while in police custody. They didn't know anything about it. Then we also have those who are having drugs, like the lady Councilman Kibi was talking about. She knew her status, she concealed it. She was taking medication, she concealed it. So if somebody is HIV positive and we are aggravating the offense because of being HIV positive, then we need to know, was he aware of his status and he concealed to this partner? Because we have people who have, it's actually a relationship, but with an underage. She's 17 years, she was in a relationship with this 20-year-old boy who didn't know anything that he was HIV positive. Then we also have a 17-year-old who is in a relationship with a 30-year-old man, and he was aware he was HIV positive. Possibly he lost his wife to HIV and was taking treatment but was concealing. So to me, that conduct should be punishable. That conduct should aggravate the offense. But where one doesn't know, I'm just shocked about it. I strongly believe that HIV people are human beings. They have a right to fall in love. So falling in love, because I should not fall in love because I'm HIV positive. But depending on how I conduct myself, disclosure is very important. So people should know, and people should be sensitized so that they get to know that HIV is not the end of the story. You can have, we have children who are born HIV. They're now at the university. They're studying. They're very okay. They're very healthy. They're living. You can't even detect the viral load because of treatment. So disclosure would be good for purposes of treatment. Now, if one conceals and you even fear to have your drugs, to take your pill, then you might even, if you are taking medication, you might even stop because you are in a situation where you cannot take the pill. So we should encourage disclosure as long as this person is counseled, and getting to know that people know that I'm HIV positive is not going to cause a lot of trauma. Maybe like people who are looking for jobs. I mean, they should not hesitate to employ someone because he's HIV. But it's all about information. The moment we get to know information about HIV and you realize that you can live, you can see they have children. Now, if you have a child, you are HIV, you defiled somebody and you left the person pregnant, we need to know so that this person who was defiled, they should be checked after the window period. Is she still negative or she's positive? But if we conceal it, then this person might not know that I'm HIV positive. She's getting pregnant. She may not go for any antenatal test to realize that she's pregnant. Then she will give birth to a child with HIV. But when she knows that this defilement or this rape by an HIV person caused pregnancy and you go for your test, then you can protect that unborn child. You go for treatment and the child will be free of HIV. But if you don't know, then that will cause information. So to me, it depends on how we disclose. We need to prepare them.
So disclosure is very important, but how and to who you disclose to is paramount.
Exactly.
Fantastic. Let us now move to Mr. Charles Elam. Should the HIV results be disclosed? Is it the right thing? There is the law, but there is the right thing to do. And in your case, what is the right thing to do?
Thank you very much. Let me first reiterate that at the very beginning, I said scientific advances have demystified HIV. At the beginning, at the time this law was enacted, HIV was a life sentence. When you got it, you died. We saw Lutaya, we saw other very important people. But the advances in technological applications and medical science has demystified this disease. It has now become a chronic disease, manageable and less dangerous than even diabetes, less dangerous than prostate cancer. So the reasons for such law is no longer valid. But having said that, as a prosecutor, in criminal cases, you have to prove a case beyond reasonable doubt. And this means proving each and every ingredient of the offense. So if the most important ingredient, if I may say so, is that to aggravate this offense, somebody must have been found positive. So in proving that, you have to show that the person standing in front of you is HIV positive, and it must be disclosed in an open trial so that everybody listening to this trial knows why this person is sentenced, and that prosecution has discharged this duty of proving beyond reasonable doubt that the person actually was infected. That's how the law is, and it must be publicly advanced. There are cases, of course, where you have to conceal identities, mostly of witnesses, but it's very rare to try to conceal an accused identity. You have committed an offense, you'll be tried publicly, and you'll be exposed. So as long as this law exists, the identity must be exposed. But as I've said, go back to Parliament, say now the situation has changed, science has demystified HIV, let's just push it aside and make it not an ingredient of the offense, so that the prosecutor may not have to show it in court that the person actually had HIV. Thank you.
Please forgive me if I'm still struggling to understand your side of this story. Are you in support of disclosure or not? We are speaking to your person. You know, are you in support of them being disclosed or not?
As an accused, and if it is still an offense, yes, I'm in support of disclosure, personally. Forgive me if I'm wrong, that's my stand.
Great, thank you so much. So what about you, Counsel? Should the results be disclosed or not? What is your take on that?
Thank you. My take is very simple. Disclosure is okay, but the question is to whom? That is my concern.
Yeah.
To whom should the disclosure be made? Should I go to a rally addressing a public and I say, Paul is HIV positive? Is that how it should be done? Look at the duty the law has given a health worker. It's a very, very elaborate duty who has tested. And as Elam has said, the law has outlived. I'm happy when you ask this question, I was looking at Dr. Pamela, Chairperson, Law Reform Commission. This is an area of interest in her docket. Is the law still relevant in the modern science and technology the way it is? With discordance, with even scientific evidence that a viral load can determine whether you can transmit or not. What is in the act is intentional transmission. What amounts to intentional transmission? To goes back to what Justice Mutonya said. I know I'm HIV positive. I just go out recklessly, and in the result, I do what?
Infect other people.
I transmit. Is this the way the law has been applied? Some transmit when they even don't know their status. After, they are properly charged with intentional what? Transmission. Knowledge or lack of knowledge of your HIV status prior to the act is not a what? A defense in this case. So disclosure is fine, but the law should define the parameters of what? Disclosure, such that the rights of also these persons are protected. And let us fight the disease, but not the person.
Yes.
That's the most important thing. Because we look as if you are fighting the persons with the disease as opposed to fighting the what? The disease, which I think was the intention of the what? The law.
Well, thank you so much, our speakers, ladies and gentlemen. I think they deserve a round of applause. And I think you have given us all the details, ins and outs of HIV, but we haven't really spoken about malaria, TB, you know, that also, these are things that we also have to speak about. But before we go to that, I'm really wondering if, Prosi, for example, you can organize someone from the police department, because we are hearing from the court side, from the academia, but what is the police saying? Could we at least have someone who is inside Ali Muchintu, like how so many people love to say, who speaks with these prisoners on a daily, who can give us, you know, a personal feel of what happens there? If there's someone there, if Prosi, you can organize someone for me, I think it would help to add on to the perspective of that. But again, as that is being organized, I would really love to bounce this question to all of us. Let us now move away from the offender and move to the plight of the children that are sometimes involved in these cases. Are their rights respected? Do they go ahead as the court system? Does it follow up and say this child needs to receive this treatment, needs to be respected, the status needs not to be disclosed, or it needs to be disclosed? How does it work? And how, in a way, does it prevent or does it limit the way we help people access their health rights? I want to start with you, Counsel. From
Thank
your
you.
stories and experiences and cases you've handled.
Thank you so much. This is very unfortunate because I'm partly, not even partly, full-time in law reporting. And I do digest and report decisions of courts of record. Often I read cases concerning HIV. And I get disturbed when I see throughout the judgment the names of the victim are being disclosed. And even when you read the judgment, it gives you a feeling of what happened in the courtroom in the course of proceeding. That even this victim appeared and she has exposed to everybody how she or he got the disease. I don't think that is the right approach. I've said a few judges have tried to avoid this. And consistently I've read decisions of Justice Mutonya here. I don't know how even the selection targeted her. And Vincent Wagona is in the room. I've also read about 2 decisions where you read, you don't get to know who the victim was. But the decisions keeps referring to the victim. That shows there's some kind of protection done. These are still young children who still have a future ahead. And you know how our society judges people with HIV. The moment they look at you, probably it is reducing. But those days, you are already blacklisted as a living dead what? Person. So imagine this juvenile, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, everybody gets to know, is exposed, and what have you. So we need a system where the victims, especially juveniles, are protected such that their identity doesn't come out outrightly to the public for so many reasons which I will not do what? Venture into. But one of the ways we are telling the judiciary, let us not be it a choice for one judge to use pseudonyms, others, they are not duty bound. Can we develop rules that can guide courts in applying such situation? When can they use pseudonyms? Protection of identity, like for juveniles who are victims of HIV. It would be a requirement under the law if we have some rules devolved like it is in Nigeria, in Ghana. They have rules of use of pseudonyms, and these are situations where they do what? Apply. Such that even if something has happened, I don't necessarily get to know the identity of this what? Victim. Tomorrow, I can take him or her like any other ordinary what? Person. But there's that bias people get when they get the history and what exactly did what happened. I think we should be moving away from that if we are ready to protect the rights of these children.
Mr. L.M. Charles, what are your thoughts on if we are to move away from the offender and now speak about the victim? Your experience again, just to get your version of events from when you were seated in the things. Are the children's health rights respected?
Thank you so much. I think this must be respected and has always been respected. I know there are systematic ways the Director of Public Prosecutions has always tried to protect identity and even exposure, which is called re-traumatizing witnesses. That one must be done. And those who are doing it, I think Mr. Wagona may have learned it from the ODPP, and he's grateful for that, I'm very sure. But as for the accused, it's another cup of tea. But for the victim and some witnesses, protection is a must. You can use pseudonyms or identify with other objects or something, but that must be done to protect their future. And even ordinary defilement or rape, you need to try and protect the identity of the victim.
Well, he did mention that in some cases, actually, the victims' names have been put out there. What usually determines that, and how can it be controlled?
I think maybe in the past, but these days, the ODPP, I'm sure, is very conscious about that. Yeah. If the name has slipped, I would take it to be maybe a mistake. But we should protect especially children and young victims, even ladies.
Yes.
Because when you're going to be married, it's not good to have a history of having been raped in our society. So their identity must be protected.
Over to you, Honorable Lady Justice Margaret. You are very passionate about the juveniles, and what has been your take on how the rights of these children, health rights, are respected whenever they're involved in court cases?
We need to find out and agree on when should we start to conceal the names of the victims of crime, especially if it has to do with the HIV. What I know is that currently the charge sheet and the indictment, they mention the names of the child, which I believe should change. What I'm doing in criminal division is that when I'm reading the indictment, when it comes to the victim, I tell counsel and the accused, it's the practice of this court that we don't mention names because it's a public trial. We don't mention names of victims, but the accused has a right to know who is the victim. So what we do is defense counsel goes and shows the accused the names.
Yes.
So that he said, have you understood your victim? And then we proceed from there. But now that one is dangerous. One can come across the indictment where the names of the victim is disclosed. So I think we need to know at what stage